Good evening, everyone. This is Janis, aka Wellness Diva 5.0 with Two Sisters. And today is Trending Thursday in the USA, June 16th. But for our guest, it's Fantabulous Friday, June 17th. So I want to welcome Daphne Wells. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Janis.
This evening or your day. I'm getting a little tongue twisted with the time changes this week. So
well, we're here now, and that's what's important.
Absolutely. So Daphne, first of all, again, welcome to the Two Sisters family. And as everyone can see, we're missing a sister tonight. So I've adopted Daphne for the evening, and she's going to fill in for Carol Sue. But she, in her own right, what an amazing person. You know, Daphne, when we first had our chat, I think a couple months ago, and we were discussing you coming on the podcast, and I was so fascinated by everything that you do. First of all, you know, obviously your background, you are amazing. You help solo visionary leaders feel safe, solid, and secure to share their magic with the world. Make more money, always a good thing, with ease and flow. But you do so much more of that. Everything that you do with coaching your clients is, I think, insane in such a good way. I have so many questions. So the first question that I have, you are, I'm not going to be able to say it correctly, a numerologist.
That's it. Yes, I am.
But you're credentialed. So can you explain to our viewers and listeners exactly what that is?
So numerology has been around for tens of thousands of years. They say it originated in Atlantis. So, 20-something thousand years ago. And it's been kept alive and yet hidden from us. And now it's coming out and into the mainstream more. And what I love about numerology is that it is all based on your date of birth, which we cannot argue with. We know, most of us in this day and age know the day we were born on, right? Mm-hmm. And so from that, we can calculate so much. And then we come up with charts that I then, as a numerologist, intuit for you. So first off, it's calculating your chart and then interpreting that and then intuiting what of that information, because I could overwhelm people, and that's not serving them. So what of that information is going to help them with where they're at? And so bringing that into coaching and helping people really boosts your confidence, because so many of us as women don't feel confident in who we are, what we're here for. Oftentimes, our gifts and what we're here to help people with, we've been doing for free most of our life without actually realizing it. And there comes a point in time where when we can have people pay us for our help, we can actually help so many more people, because we then don't have to go and do the job through the day to pay the bills. We are freed up, which helps us help more people. So there's this ripple effect that happens.
I was just going to say, I felt the ripple effect, because if you're able to be in service, do what you love to do, pretty much when you want to do it, but in such a way that resonates with you, of course, and you know that it's going to create that ripple effect, which that wave keeps going. And how beautiful is that? So
because as a woman, the more women we help, because each of them goes out and helps many more. Like, we as women don't hold on to it selfishly. That's just not in our nature.
Gotcha. So
there's a saying that if you help a woman, you help a whole village.
That is so true on so many different levels, because, for instance, along with being a podcast co-host, I'm also a VA in my own business. My sister and I have our separate businesses. And when people hear that, maybe they'll ask me a question and I provide them with information or send them some additional information. And a lot of times I've heard people say, gosh, why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. Well, which I think is so sweet of them to say, but I'm like, why wouldn't I? Yeah. And I think that's amazing. I have a question about the numerology, and I'm going to probably ask a lot of questions about this. So you said that it's based on your date of birth. You start out with that. So is it the month, the date, and the year, or just the month and the day?
The month, the date, and the year.
Okay. So if somebody said to you, Daphne, my birthday is 5/24/62. Based on just that, before you prepare the charts and whatnot, can you give them a base type of numerological reading? And I'm messing that word up pretty bad this evening.
Numerological reading. Yeah, it's a tongue twister till you get your handle on it, isn't it? There's a lot of words in our English language like that. Yeah. So someone with that date of birth, I'm wondering if that's you, Janis.
Very well could be, because I just celebrated a big one.
Yes, you did. Great decade you've come into. So you would be an 11. 11s are very spiritual. They look at things from a higher perspective, and they also have this knack of being very compassionate, very caring souls, which is why you go that extra mile for your VA clients. Oh. It's part of who you are. You can't not do it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfect. Something flashed on my screen. I do apologize, folks, but looks like we're okay. So I'm sorry, continue.
Technology happens. So you have the potential to have very deep spiritual insight and connection with spirit. And of course, that's your potential. There's also, you will have challenges of that, and that you can, an 11 can become very, when they're in the mud, they can become very, well, why doesn't everyone know this?
Everything that you just said, I would say you nailed it for sure. Without giving away too much. I'm fascinated by that, because there's so much depth and so much meaning. And we might have to just dive further into that off air, I might add. Yeah. There's other stuff out there. Well, no, I'm only kidding.
I wanted to say, Janis, that's only one little aspect of it. Right, there are layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers, and this is what makes us the unique individuals that we are.
So,
and then of course we have choice in that as to how we show up in that energy.
So it's almost like a DNA chart of what makes you you. It's not the biological part. It's, I want to say, like the physiological aspects.
So I talk about it as being, we have our physical DNA, right? We know about that from science. I talk about numerology as being your energetic DNA. Like, it determines how you show up, who you are here being. And it gives, like, even just that little bit I've shared about you gives you permission to be, well, okay, I can go full into my spiritual side if I choose to. And when I start judging people because they're not where I am with that, that's okay. That's who I am. I get to choose whether I go into that or whether I, it stops you judging yourself for those growth edges. I like to call them growth edges rather than challenges.
That is so significant. I love that. And you called it, can you say that again? Growth edge. Growthage.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I had that correct.
So you know how we talk about our comfort zones
Right.
and personal development, and your growth edge is at the edge of that. And so some numerologists will talk about the low side of your energy, the when you're in the mud, as being challenges. I like to say they're growth edges. Like you get to choose whether that's a challenge for you or whether you find a way to not get caught in the negative aspect of it.
Wow. Okay. So the negative aspect of it, it's almost as based on the numerology stuff, it's either a very negative thing or it could be a very positive thing, or maybe it's somewhere in between, and that may direct us to where we should have gone in the first place. But it's like that whole learning experience. Like if there wasn't any growthage, if there wasn't any fork in the road, I wouldn't have learned the way I should have, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, true. And I feel, you know, like that is one of your lessons in life. And so you will come back to it in the spiral of life. You know, I like to talk about that we are on a spiral. We grow and then we go around a little bit and we come up with another growth edge, something that kind of pushes our buttons, triggers us, and we get to choose how we respond to it. And so we can go up the spiral and be growing constantly, because we're here to grow and evolve through life. We're not here to live the same life, same year over and over again.
Right. And, you know, I was just thinking back to last summer, and I think I may have mentioned this. My son had suffered a life-threatening injury. So he's
How is he
okay.
doing?
He's doing okay. I am so blessed and grateful and continue to be.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were describing that, it brought me back to that time frame of last summer, where in the exact moment that my son had his accident, and I didn't find out about his accident until about 13 hours later, but I was feeling elated, on top of the world. My business was doing great. I was about, I don't know, a week away from hitting my first 5-figure month. And I was doing what I love to do, being creative, like all this stuff. And then, of course, that happened. But what it made me realize in going through such a very traumatic experience was that I was meant to do more. I don't know how to explain it. Like I just kind of redirected everything. I'm like, I started looking at everything so differently. And that's one of the blessings, I believe, you know, that came out of everything that has, you know, transpired. And I feel, of course, I would not have wanted any of this to happen to my son. I don't mean that, but for me to like process and get through everything, I looked at all the blessings and how everything came together and how everyone loved and supported and so much more. So thank you for sharing that.
And it is wonderful. Like that is such a learning, a growth, you know, it's evidence that you've grown, because probably decades ago you wouldn't have done that. You'd have gone into the negativity of it, right? To look for the blessings and the lessons in it and how you can use those to help others, and how you can, you know, as you said, it made you look at what you're doing in life and what's really important and all those kind of things,
Right.
you know? And my philosophy is that we go through hard times as a way to grow. Mm-hmm. And we choose how we use those hard times and what we learn through them. We can stay in victim mode and not grow, or we can use our experiences and our lessons to help others and to change our lives as a result, right? Which is what you've done. Because you changed your whole business after that a little bit, didn't you? You like changed focus on what you were doing. I remember in our conversation you saying that, and I was like, wow, what an amazing woman to do that.
Oh, you're so sweet. But, you know, so many things have transpired and happened that I do believe that there's so much truth to events, obviously, that happen in our lives, good, bad, indifferent, tragic. ways to, I think it was Tony Robbins, I think, who may have said life doesn't happen. And I know I'm going to mess this up. Life happens to us and we learn from it, or it was something to that effect. And I always think of that quote and kind of relate it to everything. So
didn't they say life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us?
yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
Like, it's not like life attacks us, and no one would wish what happened to your son to happen to your son. Right. And yet that happened for you to learn some of the things that you learned through it.
Yes.
And thankfully your son is recovering.
Yes, he is. I'm blessed. I'm so blessed and grateful. You know, I know that you are, along with being a neurologist, you're an intuitive success and mental fitness coach. Wow. I think we all need you in our lives, right? Can you explain a little bit more, like how that came about?
So as a child, I was so intuitive. I would hear messages, see things, and it was shut down. And because, you know, who's this crazy kid? Who's going to take any notice of what she says? You know, that's rubbish, Daphne. And the last decade or two, it's come back, like, you know, and initially I wasn't sure I could trust it. Like, I trusted it for myself, but to trust the information that I was channeling and giving to clients was a little bit scary at first, right? And numerology for me was very helpful in that, because it gave me a container to feel safe and play in. And when I, you know, my own numerology is, I am highly intuitive. I am meant to be. That is who I am, you know. And so it gave me that permission that I was talking about before with you. And so now, yes, I claim that. And mental fitness. So mindset practices have been around. We've been told, you know, affirmations and journaling and doing all the things, and yet we don't always get the results we want. What I found to be true for me was that, and for many of my clients, is that when we don't get the results we want, even though we've done all the things, we wonder whether we did we say the right affirmation? Did we do enough journaling? Did we answer the right questions in our journal? You know, what were we doing wrong? And so mental fitness really is a different way of doing that. It's like so we have our physical fitness that we know about. And when we don't use muscles, they atrophy. Mm-hmm. In our brains, we have a positive part of our brain and we have a negative part of our brain. And we are hardwired for the negative part of our brain to fire first. And that goes back to, well, there's a saber-toothed tiger out there. He's going to eat me, right? What am I going to do? The negative part just kicks in. And so we're hardwired for that. And what we can do is, by doing some mental fitness exercises regularly, is change that equilibrium so that our positive side of our brain fires first and our negative side atrophies away. It doesn't go away completely, obviously, like our team of saboteurs that are in there are still there. We get to know them very intimately and to be able to tell them where to go to when they raise their voice. But it's a really nice practice to get into the habit of doing, so that it kind of, it's a really like a flip of a switch almost.
Wow. Now, I have kind of a funny question.
Mm-hmm.
So, male and female, is there a different type of positive and negative because we're genetically made up? Like, women, for instance, are more caregivers. Is there any biological difference as far as that goes, or is that
Not that I'm aware of. I feel there's a difference in how so in the negative part of our brain, there's been identified 10 different saboteurs that show up. So when personal development talks about, well, you're self-sabotaged, it's like, well, you did something wrong. Actually, no, one of my saboteurs in that negative part of my brain jumped up and took over and started running the show because my positive side of my brain wasn't fit enough to be able to take over, right? And so I feel like the saboteurs show up in different ways in men and women, but I don't know that there's physiologically a difference.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking of, well, never mind. But, well, anyways, let's move on, Janis. So the saboteurs part, I'm thinking, does that have a lot to do with with fear, say? So the saboteur, like a fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a good thing because if we're in danger, we respond the way we need to respond.
We do. Yeah.
Wow. I love this chat. I absolutely love this chat. When
you can see how all of those little pieces, like they're not little pieces, but all of those pieces, when I bring them all together with clients and bring them together in a unique way for each individual, depending on their needs, how it really superpowers their success, right? Because it really is attuned for them.
Okay. I'm like thinking out loud here. I want to ask you about your book, which is called Decide.
Yes.
One word. Yeah, I think it's very powerful, very poignant. Can you tell us about your book?
So my book came about as a few years ago, I was asked to write a book because I was asked to speak at an event where all of the other speakers had books to sell and I didn't. And so the organizer said, well, I know you've thought about writing a book, can you pull it together? And so I did. And inevitably that event was cancelled. That was okay. And completely a whole nother story. It was actually a couple of years later that my book was published. But the reason it came about was that as a child, I never fitted in. And I was kind of like the Cinderella child, the maid servant in my family. Nobody ever listened to me or took any notice of me. And then I ended up in one abusive marriage and then came out of that and got sucked into another even more abusive relationship. And out of that, I really recognized that as a child, I'd been told all these fairy tales about, someone was going to come along and save me and I was going to get married and they were going to look after me. And that was kind of the way that I would fit into society, which of course for me didn't work out. But in amongst all of that process, I found I didn't really trust my own decision-making process because I didn't really have one. And so it really came back to, decide, choose your own path as the subtitle. And so it's about choosing your own path through life with a confident way to make effective and empowered decisions. And so what I realized when I came to write the book was that there was a whole body of work that I had gone through most of the pieces of with most of my clients over the previous years. And so the book really is a do-it-yourself way of working with me, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
It doesn't have any of the numerology or the mental fitness in because that I've brought into my practice after I wrote the book. It does have each chapter in it it's at the end, it has a summary, it has some questions and prompts, and it has some actions. And there's also links back to my website where there are more information and templates and worksheets and things to help you do it yourself. So, and partly I wanted to do it that way so that it was a really practical tool for women who perhaps didn't have the resources to invest to work with me in terms of money and time, and they could do it themselves.
Wow. I'm absolutely fascinated by that, because I'm sure that you have obviously impacted many women around the world. And at the end of each chapter, to have a summary, questions and prompts, it's like you're reading it and you're taking in that information. And it's like, sometimes when you read like a self-development type of book, it's like, okay, well, great. Now what do I do? So, right. It's like, okay, you read it, you understand it, you're excited about it, but now it's like, you want to take action.
But you don't know what to do. And that was my frustration with many of the books that I've read was, well, I've read all this amazing stuff. And it was like, you know how they talk about sometimes you go to like courses and classes at your work when they have seminars and corporations, and you come out of there raving and it actually makes no difference because there's no implementation, there's no support on the back end. And that's why I wanted this book to be a really practical, hands-on, so that it wasn't a book of more information, that it has the capacity to make a huge difference for readers if they do the implementation at the end of each chapter.
Wow. I'll have what she's having. Oh, wow. Daphne, how can our viewers and listeners get a hold of you?
So my website is my name, daphnewells.com, and you can email me at daphne@daphnewells.com.
Okay.
And I'm all over social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Okay, though, that's awesome to know.
And if readers wanted to have a conversation with me, there's a link on my website. They can go there and book a free call with me to ask any questions, right? Welcome to, if they have any questions or anything they want to chat about.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. And I know, obviously, like I said, it's Friday for you in New Zealand, and we call Fridays Fantabulous Friday.
I love that.
Yeah. What is one fantabulous thing that you would love to do this weekend, or to do today for you?
Today for me, it's beautifully sunny outside today, even though it's cold, because it's winter here, of course, but I'm going to spend some time this afternoon out in the sun because it's been grey and rainy the last few days.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that it was winter there. Well, along with being time zone challenge, I'm geographically challenged. So there.
Yeah, your summer, we're winter.
Okay. All right. And it's Trending Thursday in the USA. And what is trending for me? Challenges. But you know what? I love a challenge because it's growthage.
Yes.
And I learn.
You do.
And who knows what's next? Oh my gosh, you have to come on again. Loved this podcast.
Love to. Yeah.
So folks.
Fabulous conversation.
Oh my God, this has been great. Folks, we're so excited when we always have the opportunity to share, not only in our community, but communities abroad, what we're passionate about. Wellness through fitness and nutrition, but learning more under what's under the umbrella, having more growthage. You should have more growthage, and there is a way to do that. Contact Daphne. She would be happy to chat with you. My name is Janis, aka Wellness Diva. Again, Daphne, thank you so much for being our amazing guest this evening. And tomorrow the days are all messed up. What can I tell you?
We're here now. Thank you so much. It's just such fun.
Okay, folks, we'll see you tomorrow morning. This is Two Sisters, and have a great evening, everyone, or a good day, wherever you may be. Bye for now.
Bye.